Witness your thoughts. Explore your emotions. Listen to the wisdom beneath your pain. In that stillness, in that awareness, you will discover what you've been looking for all along, not in the noise, but in the quiet presence of your own being. Healing begins the moment you realize you don't have to prove your worth to anyone. From the earliest moments of our lives, we're taught to perform for love. Be the good child, get the grades, follow the rules, smile even when it hurts. Slowly, without realizing it, we learn that love, acceptance, and value are things we must earn. And so, we begin to wear masks. We hustle for approval. We shape ourselves into versions that feel more digestible to others. Less emotional, less opinionated, less real. All in an effort to feel like we are enough. But this performance comes at a cost. Each time you deny your truth to be liked, you teach yourself that who you are is not worthy of love as is. And that belief becomes the seed of self-doubt, insecurity, and emotional exhaustion. It whispers, you have to try harder. You're still not there yet. It keeps you running in circles, chasing validation that never lasts, hoping one more achievement, one more compliment, one more nod of approval will finally silence that inner ache. But peace doesn't come when people clap for you. It doesn't arrive the moment someone finally sees your worth. It begins the moment you do. The moment you stop trying to be impressive and start being authentic. The moment you stop chasing someone else's definition of value and decide to honor your own. You were never meant to be on trial for your existence. You were never meant to live each day as a case to be proven. The need to prove is rooted in the illusion that worth is conditional, that love must be earned, that your presence is a debt you have to repay. But you don't owe anyone a version of yourself that's easy to digest. You don't owe the world perfection to deserve belonging. You were born worthy. Your value was never up for debate. Healing begins when you stop looking outward for something that can only be found within. When you stop saying, "Am I enough?" and start affirming, "I am already whole." That shift isn't arrogance. It's freedom. Freedom from the need to over-explain, over-apologize, overachieve just to feel like you matter. When you release the pressure to prove, you begin to heal. You begin to breathe deeper. You begin to enjoy things for yourself instead of performing them for the approval of others. You begin to dress how you want, speak how you feel, dream how you dare, because you are no longer measuring your life against someone else's yardstick. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of unlearning, of gently peeling back the layers of conditioning that taught you to outsource your self-worth. You might feel resistance, guilt, fear. That's natural. The ego clings to validation because it believes survival depends on it. But the soul knows the truth. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be real. And when you step into that authenticity, something incredible happens. You begin to attract relationships, opportunities, and experiences that match your truth. You stop settling for crumbs of affection because you've learned to give yourself the full feast of self-respect. You stop bending over backward to fit in, because you've learned that belonging isn't found in shrinking, but in standing tall. True peace is not a trophy handed to those who prove themselves worthy. It's the quiet strength of knowing you never had to prove yourself to begin with. It's the unshakable calm that comes from being rooted in who you are, not who others expect you to be. So breathe. Release the pressure. You don't have to impress anyone today. You don't have to explain your choices to people who don't live your life. You don't have to seek approval from those who are still trying to find themselves. The only permission you need is your own. The only validation that matters is the kind you give yourself when you look in the mirror and say, I am proud of who I am becoming. This is where healing begins, not in changing yourself to be more lovable, but in realizing you always were. You were not born to carry what doesn't belong to you. Yet somehow along the way you started collecting burdens that were never yours. The expectations of others, the weight of unresolved pain, the shame passed down through generations, the silent responsibility to fix, to please, to carry the emotions of people who never learned to hold their own. And slowly, without even noticing it, you became heavy with things that had nothing to do with your soul's purpose. Maybe it started with being the strong one, the responsible one, the one who always holds it together. Or maybe it started with a simple moment, a time you were told to stop crying, to be good, to not make things harder. You internalized that. You became what was needed, not what was true. And in doing so, you began to carry. You carried guilt for saying no. You carried shame for feeling too much. You carried resentment from unspoken words and fear of being abandoned if you chose yourself. You carried the broken pieces of people who expected you to be their healer, their stability, their savior. And though it exhausted you, you told yourself it was noble, that this was love, that strength is not measured by how much pain you can hold. True strength is the courage to finally set it down. You see, not everything you carry belongs to you. Not every emotion in your chest is yours to heal. Not every responsibility handed to you is yours to accept. The stories people told you about who you should be were not always rooted in truth, but in their own pain, their own wounds, their own projections. Letting go of what doesn't belong to you is not selfish. It's sacred. It's the act of returning to yourself. It's the moment you whisper, "This isn't mine to hold," and place it down gently, without guilt, without shame, without the need to explain, because you have carried it long enough. And in that release, something beautiful happens. You feel light, not because life has no challenges, but because you are no longer dragging the emotional weight of 10 lifetimes behind you. You stop trying to fix everyone. You stop absorbing pain like a sponge. You stop betraying your own needs to meet someone else's expectations. You realize that love doesn't mean self-abandonment. Compassion doesn't mean carrying what someone refuses to deal with. Boundaries aren't walls. They are bridges to clarity. And saying no is not rejection. It's alignment. To choose peace, you must first choose truth. And the truth is, you are not responsible for anyone's healing but your own. You can offer love, but you cannot be their source. You can listen, but you are not a dumping ground. You can support, but you are not the foundation of someone else's stability. This is not cruelty, this is wisdom. And the more you carry what's not yours, the further you drift from who you are. You lose your joy, your energy, your purpose. You begin to feel resentful, burnt out, disconnected. That is your soul's way of saying, come back to your center. Come back to your own heartbeat. Come back to what is yours. When you return to yourself, you begin to move differently. You stop apologizing for resting. You stop feeling guilty for choosing silence over drama. You stop explaining your boundaries to people who benefit from you having none. And you realized peace was never about perfect circumstances. It was about releasing what never belonged in your hands. So let it go. The guilt, the pressure, the need to be everything for everyone. Return the expectations that were never yours. Release the emotional debts that were never yours to repay. Lay down the armor you wore to protect everyone else while neglecting your own soul. You don't need to carry it anymore. You were not born to be weighed down. You were born to be free. Peace is not something you stumble upon by accident. It is something you choose deliberately, moment by moment, often in silence, often when no one else is watching. The world you live in thrives on urgency. Everything must be faster, louder, more. You are constantly pulled in 1,000 directions, your attention scattered, your soul stretched thin, and in this storm of distraction, you are subtly taught to believe that stillness is laziness, that silence is weakness, and that choosing yourself is somehow selfish. But the truth is, peace requires strength. It demands presence, and most of all, it asks for intention. You don't wake up one day suddenly filled with peace. It's not a prize handed out for working harder than everyone else. It's not found at the end of achievement or in the hands of someone who finally understands you. Peace is a choice, and often the most radical one you can make. You choose peace when you stop responding to chaos with more chaos, when you take a breath instead of sending the angry message, when you walk away instead of fighting to prove your point. You choose peace when you hold space for yourself to feel, without numbing, without running, without needing to be understood. This kind of peace is not passive, it's powerful. It is not the absence of conflict, but the refusal to be ruled by it. It's not denial of reality, but a decision to stay grounded in who you are, even when the world spins wildly around you. It's what happens when you learn to trust your inner compass more than the noise of the crowd. There will be moments when choosing peace will cost you. It may cost you a relationship, an argument, a role you once played for others. It might cost you your comfort zone, because to choose peace, you must often walk away from everything that disturbs it, including parts of yourself that once found identity in drama, in people-pleasing, in always being right. And so peace becomes a kind of discipline, a daily practice of asking, does this support my soul? A quiet but firm commitment to yourself, to your boundaries, to your energy, to your healing. And with each